So we are delighted that our guest speaker this morning is making what I think I counted, Mike, as your 5th appearance here before our chamber breakfast meeting. And we really are delighted that you're able to spend your time with us and bring us up to date on what's happening in the county. For those of you who don't remember, in addition to this, Mike is also just one of 4 county administrators in the history of Ulster County. Cal Cunningham, Bill Darwak, Art Smith, and then Mike before the new charter form of government, and he became Ulster County's first county executive. And his appearance, great timing. We scheduled this a long time ago, right after the State of the County address, to bring that message to you and an update on that as well as lots of other new initiatives that are being planned for the coming months and years in Ulster County. Please, if you would, give a warm Ulster County Chamber of Commerce welcome to County Executive Michael Hein. Mike.
Great. By the way, the best thing that everybody could have done at this point is have your blood pressure checked. I always worry that you're going to have it checked right after you open a tax bill or something like that, and it's going to be some horrible thing. What I will tell you is this. I had the opportunity to have mine checked this morning. I urge everybody to do that. It's not just about a decision, by the way, getting your cholesterol done, whether or not you have the bacon or don't have the bacon. It's really going to be a decision about individually what kind of community we want to be. You know, we'll talk about a whole host of things as we go through today's event, but what I hope everyone garners from this is the county government, we care. Now, I went to an organization one time. You know what? I'm not going to stand behind this. I went to an organization and spoke to a group of seniors one time. And after I got done speaking, I had one of the nicest things ever said to me. Went through this whole long dialogue of what we were doing, where we were doing it, why we were doing it, the whole host of those kinds of things. And what ultimately happened is a person came up to me afterwards and they said, "You seem different." And I said, "I don't get it. What do you mean I seem different?" They said, "Well, we have politicians talk to us all the time. It's usually about rhetoric, and they go on and on and on and on. But what they don't do is tell us what they're going to do it, and then at the end of it, be held accountable." Well, that's the kind of new wave of government. I want you to understand that's been at the heart of the administration we formed. Look at these technical difficulties. We got all kinds of stuff. Normally they call this vamping, I'm pretty sure, right? Look at how hard you work. You go right ahead. As you go through today's breakfast, as you go through the newspapers, as you commit as a community to be able to make a difference every day, the nicest part when I look around is I see individuals. I see people who I've worked with. I see people who are trying to make their community a better place one day at a time. I see a community, when I look around, that's committed to making sure there are jobs in our community. But before we do this, I want you to understand what's going on right now, because I think it's very important we always be open. They're having technical difficulties. If you want to watch someone on my staff stress out, now would be the time.
Not his fault, my fault.
How we doing?
We're getting there.
Why don't we do Q&A now? Did I cover about everything at this point? You know what? Actually, I will do a little Q&A before we start. We'll do it completely different than what we normally were going to do. Am I in the way? You know what? Literally, if you have a question about county government, let's start with that. Let's start with that, and we'll do it, please.
Let's talk about our area of Ulster County, the town of Shandaken, town of All, and so on and so forth.
Sure.
We're still suffering from the hurricane damage of Hurricane Irene. And I got to appreciate what your office has done in regard to finally getting an agreement on the Catskill Mountain Railroad and the new Catskill Mountain or the rail trail.
Thank you.
It took 30, 25 years to get it done. You guys got to finally get it done.
I've only been at it for 4.
It's been a long time. I appreciate that, but what are we going to do about the mess we have in Western Ulster County?
Well, again, if the mess you mean is, and this is important to understand, we're talking about the western part of Ulster County. Ulster County is geographically the size of Rhode Island. It's a huge place. The western part of our county is a very unique economy. It's a very unique place in general. First off, we should start off with the idea that it is breathtakingly beautiful. One of the best natural beauties on the planet Earth. That said, there's also a lot of limitations. The New York City DEP and I have a lovely relationship. And there's a reason why. Because there's huge limitations placed on our community that aren't placed on any other part of the country. I always say the same thing to them. Can you imagine the ridiculous conversation if I said to you, Ulster County is going to control a 4-block area in Midtown Manhattan? It seems absurd, but that's precisely what's happening in our community. It was a deal struck 107 years ago. It was ridiculous. It has compromised the ability to develop many parts of our county. In many ways, it's been a boom, by the way, to protection of the environment. But I always say that to the Department of Environmental Protection, whenever you talk about how many jobs you bring to our community, please make sure you do as business does. You go net. How many jobs do your restrictions cost our community? That's a conversation we may want to have. When you talk about how much you pay in taxes, I see Gary in the back, who's been fighting, by the way, tooth and nail in Hurley, and many towns are doing the same thing. You see, what they do is they go to the individual towns and they hold them hostage. They basically go in and say, with our team of attorneys, we will sue you and sue you and sue you to lower our tax rate. And by doing that, New York City ratepayers get a break. Here's the problem. The taxes that are owed don't go down, just their slice of the pie. And so in the process, what ultimately ends up happening is that burden gets pushed upon local taxpayers. You are subsidizing New York City water rates. I am subsidizing New York City water rates. It's completely unacceptable. So when you wonder why we fight tooth and nail, it's so much more than just the fact that they feel okay about dumping into the lower Esopus and we see brown water so that they can siphon off the clean water for themselves. That's just not regular turbid water, by the way. It's highly concentrated so they can get the cleanest of the clean. So when you see someone who's going to be passionate and fight for you and be a voice for you in Albany and in New York, and who got the EPA, by the way, to side with Ulster County for the first time ever, I want you to understand why we do what we do. And I am very passionate about fighting for my community. And so we're not going to walk away from that. The most relieved person in this room right now is right there.
No problem at all.
By the way, it's for those of you who don't know him, J.J. Hansen is a spectacular budget director and is a pivotal part of the team and a wonderful guy. Please give him a round of applause. Before we get into that, I do want to say that's kind of been the key part to this. When I hired people on our team, and we continually get smaller. I say my team is actually 19% smaller than when I actually took over in 2009. But what we have consistently done is say 2 things to them. I'm not going to give you a pay increase. You're going to work extremely hard, and you're going to have an opportunity to make a huge difference in your community. And if you want to do that, I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. I don't care about all the other things. What I care about is that you're highly competent and you're committed to the mission of making this a better place. And because of that, I've been blessed to have wonderful people who are literally just trying to make a difference in their community. And so now let us begin. After you, JJ. When we talk about the Chamber of Commerce, what I always like to talk about is how much of a difference they can make as an advocacy group. It's remarkable what you can accomplish. We wouldn't even have this form of government if it wasn't for this group simply saying, enough is enough. We want to have somebody accountable. We want to have somebody that will bring business principles, at least, to government. There needs to be a level of accountability. Because of your advocacy, we even have this form of government in the first place. By the way, we're the only place in 25 years in the state of New York that's made this kind of sweeping change. But it's more than that. It was really lonely when it came time to make difficult decisions in addressing a nursing home in crisis. It was tough. The decisions were not easy. We wanted to make sure that people that were most vulnerable in our community are protected. This group stood with me as we began to move forward in a process and made significant changes that would never have been possible without you. And now, by the way, everybody understands that it was the right thing to do and it's working well and everything, the process is going smoothly. But it wasn't like that in the very beginning. So I won't ever forget that the Chamber of Commerce of Ulster County stood with me in that process. I'm very, very thankful. This talks about what the administration's all about. You want to understand us? There isn't a complicated series of things. It's three key principles. We're about protecting taxpayers because we understand they have been pushed to the limit, whether it be business taxpayers or homeowners. We're about delivering essential services to people in need in the most efficient way possible. Sometimes that's the county doing it. Sometimes that's public-private partnerships. Sometimes that's working with non-for-profits. It's about making sure that the services are delivered. And it's about better positioning Ulster County to compete in an ever-changing global economy. There is a reality. Whether we want it to change or not, the world is spinning, and we are absolutely in a competition. So the goal really at this point is to make sure that we win. And the way we can do this is to continually embrace change. To me, that's what makes Ulster County different today than it was 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. This is it. Ulster County is different today because we now embrace innovation and change. It's not about the status quo anymore. It's not about holding on to what once was. It's about simply stepping forward and saying, we're going to do whatever we have to do to hit those three key principles, and we work for the people. I think it's important that we always be honest. I grew up here. This is all reality, by the way, that we're going to talk about. You all have said it in the coffee shops. I've heard it. I knew it. Before I was in government, when I sat in your seats, I was saying the exact same things. It was more about who you knew than about what you knew in county government. That's not how it's supposed to be. Major policy decisions were either made or avoided. Depends on what was politically popular, not what was absolutely needed for the community. Massive government hiring made Ulster County the biggest employer in Ulster County. We don't make anything. We don't make anything. So what happens in that situation is we can become, through pension funds, healthcare costs, all those kinds of contributions. By the way, just so you know, pension costs for Ulster County up 4,300% since 2002. $19.5 million. Okay, that's a reality. So when we try to make difficult financial decisions, understand the environment that we're working in is just like the environment you're working in. And nepotism and cronyism had run wild. It was unacceptable. That's the truth, by the way. And I always say it's important that we kind of face the truth before we can actually move past it as a community. See, if we hadn't changed, this was the track that we were on. We were on the track towards the government's version of bankruptcy. We were on the track to a 66% cumulative property tax increase if we had just held status quo for the last 4 years. Instead, they have been virtually flat. These are important facts to understand over the past 4 years. More services are provided today to people in need than at any point in Ulster County's history. That's a fact. Then we passed an executive order right out of the blocks to make nepotism unacceptable and intolerable in Ulster County government. We have a corporate compliance program that is second to none in county governments across New York State. As the president of the County Executives Association, it's one of the key things that I'd like to see accomplished. Have this spread across county governments, all across New York State, because I believe that's how you can insert integrity into the process. We've transferred from a culture of entitlement to one of integrity and service delivery. We work for you, not the other way around. And the size of the county workforce now is 20% smaller today than in 2009. That's a fact. Much of it's been done through retirement incentives. Much of it's been done through attrition, but some of it was through layoffs. Ultimately, it has to be about those key principles, delivering essential services as efficiently as possible. And we delivered the first county-wide property tax cut in over a decade because of these things. We understand we're not going to tax people out of existence. We're not going to tax your business out of existence. And it's because it's never been about whether it's a bigger government or a smaller government to me. It's always been about creating a better government. And because of that, we are becoming a statewide model for reform. As a result, we saved Golden Hill. It's still here in our community. See, many people were misunderstanding the trouble. We weren't making a decision between public and private. The decision had escalated to the point where it was about open or closed. And when it gets to that point, you'll be surprised how creative you can be. We launched the Strive Project. This delivers high-quality access to education to the inner-city youth of our community. Rebuilding Ulster County's infrastructure, to your point, we took on $15 million plus of infrastructure projects across Ulster County. It was remarkable, the biggest natural disaster in our history. And we've launched an anti-fraud, waste, and abuse initiative at DSS most recently to help augment our special investigations unit. Again, all of us don't mind lending a hand to someone in need. And none of us want to be abused by someone defrauding the system. Let's talk a little bit about Golden Hill. See, when we talked about doing this, here was the kicker. We had a huge, highly political, very controversial, highly emotional issue, and nobody in the state had ever done it well. That's a nice thing to start with. That's the reality of what we started with. So instead of simply saying we're going to recreate what other people have done and failed at, we designed an entirely new model with an LDC and what we call a compassionate alternative to closure, making sure that we select a high-quality operator and in the process make sure that so much stays intact. Think about what happens here. The facility remains open. No residents at all are displaced. The jobs remain in our community with new private sector capital investment that we couldn't do because we didn't have those dollars. Enhanced services are going to be available. Large commercial property, by the way. Where's the mayor? He's going to get a lot of extra money. Large commercial property goes back on the tax rolls, and there is the elimination of a multi-million-dollar taxpayer subsidy every single year. People are cared for, services are delivered, and taxpayers aren't overburdened. That's the idea. Let's talk about the Strive Project. You may have read about it in the paper and not really know what it's all about. Shared taxpayer relief through innovative visions in education. And where's the genesis of this? It's about moving the SUNY Ulster Satellite Campus from the Business Resource Center out on Ulster Avenue to the Sophie Finn Elementary School. It's about centrally locating health and human services from the county's perspective to the Business Resource Center. And it's about selling a 14-acre county-owned property on the commercial corner of 300 Flatbush Avenue, if you know where that is. It is a big parcel of land. See, all of these individuals are critical stakeholders in this process. But most importantly, it's about the students and the taxpayers, not about these folks under here work for those people up there. And that's something that can often get lost, but it's not lost in our community. I want to say a special thank you to Dr. Padalino, who has embraced change in our community in a very difficult job. I want to thank people like Dr. Cott, who has, again, stepped forward and made difficult choices in the core mission of providing high-quality education to the people of our community, to our entire community. Kingston High School, we should be honest again. When you were having graduation rates, and I know they've changed recently, but they were 70%. 58% for the Hispanic population, 50% for the African American population. The idea of a coin flip to whether or not your child graduates from school or not is unacceptable. It creates a huge generational poverty situation. It creates an enormous problem when there are more people in the system than contributing to the system. That can't be, and we have to address it. The community college. The community college had a business model problem. We were in the center of the county, the geographic center. But the problem was, that's not where the vast majority of people were. So unless you could drive to college, you struggled in being able to participate in higher education. The city of Kingston, as the school was making these difficult choices, we could not afford to have one more vacant school building in the heart of Kingston. It couldn't happen. And the county itself had to come to terms with what we were doing and doing poorly. Every time we needed to add a service, every time we needed to do one more mandate, we rented a new space, we bought a building, we took things off we had 70 properties, 70, all off the tax rolls. We'd become a land baron. And nobody was taking that 30,000-foot view of how do we deliver essential services to people in need. This process forced that to the table. I asked Dr. Cott and I asked Dr. Padalino to join me. And we sat down, and what we basically said is, there's an enormous amount of shared problems. Let's talk about this, about looking at unconventional solutions to those problems. What happens if, instead of working in silos, what happens if we work together, collectively, on bringing something innovative forward? And we brought forward the Strive Project. It itself is a statewide model. The School Board Association of the State of New York has asked me to speak about this because it's so pivotal in being able to break down those barriers between schools, governments, colleges, and a whole host of other things. I always say this isn't just about the Strive Project and the project that we've done. It's about opening up to a whole new way of thinking, knocking down those barriers, working together for the betterment of the community, not for the betterment of the narrow organization. It improves access to higher education. Creates a walkable campus, by the way, where kids who go to high school can walk 100 yards to classes. They can walk to college preparatory classes 100 yards and go back to school. For Health Alliance, it provides the ability for us to be able to have nursing internship programs right next to the hospitals. This is about creating a workforce. It's about creating a better community. It's about creating access to higher education. If you haven't seen it, it's really simple, and it's something that you all know in this room inherently. The higher the level of education, the lower the level of unemployment. The higher the level of education, the larger the lifetime earning capacity is. That is a reality. So one of the best and fastest ways we can impact generational poverty is to help educate our young people and provide access to higher education. By the way, in the Health and Human Services, what we're going to be doing is taking the Health Department, Veterans Affairs, and a whole host of other things and moving them directly into the Business Resource Center. So right now, if you're a senior and a veteran, you have to, and you don't drive, you're taking buses all over the place to be able to get the services you have. Instead, you walk in the door. It shouldn't be about government directing you all over through this bureaucracy. You walk in and someone will take care of your needs. You're going to walk in and you're going to say, I'm a veteran and I'm a senior and I need X, Y, Z. Someone's going to be at the reception desk, and you're not going to have to know the bureaucracy. You're not going to have to be able to figure your way through the process. We're going to make it easy. There's going to be no wrong door with access to Health and Human Services. That's something I believe we owe to people like our veterans, like our seniors, who are in situations where they need help. Again, 14 acres, highly developable commercial corner. Steve, you tell me, is developable even a word? If it's not, it should be. Back on the tax rolls. Creates an economic engine right in the heart of Kingston. I should have asked Don Cott that question. And it creates an educational corridor in the heart of Kingston. Instead of a vacant building, we have an institution of higher education. Again, a huge thank you to BOCES. They're working to be able to take the front building there. We're very excited about what the potential is for creating an educational and healthcare corridor right in the heart of Kingston and what that can mean to the economy. And it's important to understand, when I talk about Kingston, I talk about as a part of the whole. The whole is all of Ulster County, the entire Hudson Valley region, because I don't know of an example, and believe me, I have looked, of a place where the city struggles, the primary city in the community struggles, and the county thrives. It doesn't work that way. So what's good for the city of Kingston is good for the county, and what's good for the county is good for the city of Kingston. They have to work collaboratively. It saves taxpayers millions in the end, by the way. We get streamlined. We're able to save a fortune when it comes to taxpayers' burden by putting things back on the tax rolls and a whole laundry list of other savings internally. Let's talk briefly about this. Do you remember the Sunoco stuff on the front page of the paper? That landed about here with me. Because all of us, like I said earlier, want to care for those and give a hand up to anybody who is in need. I always say, we all recognize we're just a few bad breaks from being in those same situations. We get that. But the problem is this. When you waste money because the county or any other organization is defrauded, what we end up losing is, first off, what a slap in the face to the very people who are trying to help. Their tax dollars being wasted instead of going to help the people that they intended it to go help. But in that situation, we have to find a way to bring additional help forward. There's a hard-working group of Special Investigations Unit. And so let's talk about this. We launched this program, a DSS anti-fraud, waste, and abuse program with zero-tolerance education program. So people know up front, we're checking. There's no confusion that we're checking. And you know this early on in the process. We are adding specialized forensic accountants to the system to catch people who are defrauding the system. This isn't about, in any way, shape, or form, making it harder to participate or in any way, shape, or form to harm someone who is justifiably in need. But it absolutely is going to make it impossible or much more difficult to defraud the system with schemes that can easily be detected by forensic accountants. And we're going to partner with the district attorney to make sure that we hold individuals accountable. If you defraud the system, we are going to prosecute you. We are going to hold you accountable. Ulster County is not the place where we're going to tolerate that kind of behavior. Saving taxpayer dollars is critical, and we all know why. In these challenging times, there are things that I cannot control. But we can protect business owners by making sure that your county tax bill doesn't skyrocket. It's one of the best things I can do for a homeowner. Make sure your tax bill doesn't tax you out of the home that you've worked so hard for. And it protects essential services for those most in need. You see, if we make the difficult and fiscally responsible choices, then we have the dollars to address the non-mandated but absolutely essential parts of what we do. It's your money. We're accountable to you. That's not lost on me for a millisecond, and it's not lost on any person in my administration. We always come back to this. We know what our role is, delivering essential services to people in need in the most efficient way possible. What I'm going to show you now is something I hope you never, ever, ever have to see or deal with. But it's part of what county government does. It's called the Child and Family Advocacy Center. What it really is at its heart is a place where we now bring all the services needed to child victims of crimes. I always say the same thing. It's the place that as a parent, I pray to God never gets used. And as the county executive, I am so glad that it exists for those children in need. By the way, not mandated. It's not mandated. But it's an absolutely critical part of what we're supposed to do as a community in caring for people who are most in need. Let's talk about our veterans. People who have fought for our community, fought for the freedoms, fought for the privilege for us to even be here having this conversation this morning. There's a reality. This is a frightening, frightening reality. And when I found out that we had homeless vets right here in our community, not only did it shock me, but it did something else. It awakened my mind to think about new solutions. Because what I was told, which was absolutely petrifying, was at the local level, there's no money to fix this problem of homeless veterans in our community. There wasn't any money to fix it. I said, that's completely unacceptable. Are you kidding me? We cannot have people who fought and served our country, who are now suffering from PTSD or a whole host of other serious challenges, and leave them hanging in the wind. What are we? We're better than that as a community, and we're better than that as a country. So we said we're going to find innovative solutions. First and foremost, we went to the state and simply said, you have an unused, if you know where this place is, it's at the head of Wirt Street. It's a beautiful building, by the way. It's a former group home. It was vacant, completely unused. We had the state transfer it over to the county. That was a huge help in this process. By the way, it's right across the street from a park with a veterans monument. I always say it's a perfect location. But it's more than that. We didn't have the money to pay for the services that are going to be needed on a regular basis or the renovations. And so I went to the community college and I asked them to make a very big sacrifice. I went to President Cott and the Board of Trustees, and I owe them a huge debt of gratitude. I said, it's imperative that we find the money in innovative ways, and I believe our priorities are best served when we're serving those who served our country rather than with a beautiful, wonderful president's home from the community college. And they stepped forward and they put this up for sale. We're selling the Ulster County Community College President's House because the Board of Trustees and Dr. Cott really have incredible values and wonderful priorities, and I feel really grateful to have them as a partner in this process. And that's Ulster County thinking differently. The veterans of our community are going to have a place to go for high-quality transitional housing. The high-quality services that they need are going to be brought directly to them. So they're not going to have to go all over the place trying to hunt it out, and hopefully maybe it works out. We owe them better than that. We're going to deliver the services directly to them in this wonderful facility. We're going to pay for it by being innovative and selling properties that we simply didn't need. And we're ultimately going to be able to say to our veterans who are homeless, once and for all, welcome home. Hurricane Irene, we were talking about that earlier. The worst natural disaster in our history. Nothing's really even been close, though I think we're going to have natural disasters pretty much every 15 minutes now. We're getting much better at it. We were faced with enormous rebuilding projects. By the way, this is in Shandaken. By the way, we have 20 towns in the city of Kingston, 3 villages. I just said this was in Shandaken. You know what I heard out of the corner of my ear? Oliveria. Rebuilding these things really is a testament to your DPW. See, I remember the stories. 6 guys standing around a hole, everybody leaning on a shovel, 1 guy doing the work. That doesn't exist anymore. We have an incredible group of professionals that have moved through rebuilding Ulster County's infrastructure after the worst natural disaster with 24% less staffing. 24% less staffing. They're doing a tremendous job. And by the way, this picture here is of the Bridge Street Bridge in Phoenicia. You see, what happened was everybody in the administration understands that they play a role in economic development. And so our DPW crew and our bridge crew specifically said, we want to get this bridge open ahead of schedule and under budget, but we want to make sure that it's open in time for the Festival of the Voice, which delivers 7,000 people into the hamlet of Phoenicia. It's a huge economic shot in the arm, and we want to make sure that gets done. This is a testament to your county workforce that got it done ahead of schedule, under budget, got it open. The Festival of the Voice was fantastic. I hope some of you got to really enjoy it. It's a miraculous place. And they're part of economic development. You see, let's talk a little bit about what economic development was. Does this look familiar? This spaghetti spill, this is you. This is the business owner. My guys would be very unhappy about this. Look at this. We got high tech here. This is you. This is all the stuff that's available to you as a business owner as you work to make payroll, grow your business, do all the difficult day-to-day parts of running your operation, and you're supposed to figure this out on your own. It was ridiculous. I will tell you, I'm very proud to be able to say, all the people here who worked so hard in making sure Ulster Tomorrow was completed, made sure that plan was detailed and outlined. It isn't something that just sat on the shelf. I am proud to stand before you today and tell you that everything that was designed in Ulster Tomorrow with economic development is now done. Done. That doesn't mean, by the way, that we're done. We have an enormous amount of work still in front of us. But Ulster Tomorrow is now done. And that is a testament to people who have embraced it in this room, have done so much work to make that a reality, and people who fought so hard at the county level as well to make sure that this could come to fruition. We designed something called the Office of Business Services. Remember that picture when it said you and all that other services? You don't have, this is someone that stands in between you and all those other services to make sure, ultimately, that we're serving you. It's your government. The Office of Business Services is here to be able to do these types of things, making sure that if you're looking for financing or business incentives, you don't have to know where they all are. You just have to go to speak to the Office of Business Services. If you want access to business counseling, they'll help in that respect. Site selection, either for existing businesses or businesses from the outside. They're actively involved in that process. And by the way, they're doing this all now and have for an extended period of time. This is a formalization of what we've been doing in the executive's office. And cutting through bureaucracy and red tape, it's one of the key things that we do. As a county executive, one of the best things I can do for you is advocate in places when things are put forth upon you as a bureaucracy that simply don't make sense. It doesn't work, and it's restricting you from being able to have a successful business. We have people who are excellent at being able to fight through bureaucracy. Let's talk about the Office of Business Services and the director of the Office of Business Services, March Gallagher. If you don't know her, you should know her. If you haven't worked with her, you should work with her. Let me tell you, a wonderful ambassador to the business community from my administration. She fully understands this, and she's a wonderful tool for you to be able to help your business grow. Her staff of Melinda Buff and Linda Clark are absolute experts in the field, fantastic folks. So as we restructure economic development, understand there's a talented group of people committed to helping you. None of us can do this alone, and nobody should ever say that government is the key to business. You're not supposed to laugh, by the way. One of the best things we can do is listen. And that means listening to really bright and talented individuals who I've asked to serve on the Executive's Business Advisory Council. But it's so much more than that. Each and every one of you should feel like you're on this board. If you have an idea, if you have a thought, if you have something that can make this county better, I plead with you, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I'm one of the easiest people to reach. Lisa Cathy, an enormous thank you to her, president of Ulster Savings Bank. Yanaro Garcia, a business owner in Ellenville. Jim Maloney, really a partner in this process. No, we have multiple parts to our government. So this is not possible without a real partner in the legislative side, and Jim Maloney has been a real partner in this process. Bianca Quigley, Hadi Salavitabar. Again, let's talk about this. To be able to talk about the kinds of gems we have in our community. He runs the business, the entire business, Dean of Business at SUNY New Paltz. Most people in our community don't even know what I'm about to tell you. They are internationally accredited. Internationally accredited as a business school. It's remarkable what they have done and what he as an individual has done. Please. My staff is worried I might keel. I will tell you this, I have great blood pressure, though it's iffy on the cholesterol.
And crack-free water.
Thank you. Glenn Sutherland. For those of you who don't know Glenn's my go-to person when I want someone not to not have a filter. I don't want any BS. I just go, tell me it straight, and he's never hesitated. Ward Todd, obviously representing this incredible organization, and Steve Turk representing the tourism industry in Ulster County. Steve Turk and the Rocking Horse Ranch, just so you know, #3 family resort in the world. In the world. The whole globe. The whole globe, the world. #3 in the world. It's a remarkable place. What they have done with that place since the time, it's remarkable. We all remember that feeling we had when we found out that Colony Liquor was moving and 400 jobs were leaving our community. That landed right about here as well, didn't it? A huge thank you to business owners in our community who have partnered and now will be filling that facility. To WolfTech and Stavo, we can't say thank you enough. And we also want to say thank you to the partners. The town of Ulster really did a wonderful job of pushing forward and making this a reality. The Empire State Development pushed extremely hard. The mayor of the city of Kingston pushed extremely hard to make this a reality. And again, the coordination role of Mark Gallagher, the IDA, your entire team, you can't say thank you enough. This is how it can be different, by the way. It doesn't have to be the old way. We can literally make sure that we coordinate incentives, make sure things come together, and that we keep incredible businesses in our community and growing. And again, we shouldn't lose sight of places like Bread Alone, a homegrown business that is expanding, having some of their best years ever right now, bringing more jobs to our community and growing public-private partnerships. Everybody, doesn't Chuck look nice there? Advanced manufacturing is a sector within our operation that most people don't even know about. This is a critical part where we need to get better. First off, we have great businesses out there that are doing a wonderful job. What we don't have is an assurance that people are going to be graduating with the skills necessary to fulfill those jobs that they need. Just so you know, if someone graduates with the ability to operate a CNC machine, they can have a job today. Today. A high quality, high paying job today. So we have to make sure that that takes place. Again, this is the number for the Office of Business Services. Please don't hesitate to be able to access it. Michael Trainer, I think I saw you over there. Michael had an opportunity to be able to speak before you. The people of Ellenville have spoken. The people of Warsing have spoken. Ulster County Legislature has spoken. The people around this room have all spoken. We all want to see gaming happen in the Ellenville area. Now the question is, how do we bring it to reality? One of the best things that we can do is continue your role of advocacy. This is an online survey. I encourage you to do this. I think there's something on everybody's table to make sure that they can participate in this. This online survey allows you to be able to use social networking to make sure the governor gets the very clear message that we as a community embrace this project in Ellenville. It's a wonderful and transformative project for that community. There's more though. Reach out to Senator Bonasek. Make sure that he understands, as well as Assemblyman Pretlow. These are the people who chair the gaming committees. If you want this to become a reality, these are people to reach out to. We don't just want to see gaming in Sullivan County. We want to see gaming in Ellenville, and we want to see it now. This is an exciting opportunity for me. You see, we've decided we're going to launch this Business Ambassador Award to be able to recognize somebody who has really exemplified this role of advocacy, someone who's gone so far above and beyond. And the truth of the matter is, the person we're recognizing today, we could recognize every day because she's remarkable, absolutely remarkable. What I'm going to talk to you about, though, is a person named Francois Danevsky. I want to tell you what she did. She cares so deeply about this community that she fought quietly. Nobody really knew. She was fighting behind the scenes time and day after day after day after day. And she landed Source HOV and 200 plus jobs for our community. We can't say thank you enough for that. So not only is she a deserving and wonderful representative, I'm so glad to have her as the first recipient of the Business Ambassador Award. I'm very proud to say that today, Francois, February 20th, this is one of the coolest things I get to do as county executive, by the way, is Francois Danevsky Day across all of Ulster County. There you go. Thank you. Very well deserved. Look at this. Here we go. Oh, here we go. You have to turn. Thank you very much. And this is for you as well. By the way, very, very well deserving. By the way, she is so humble. The truth of the matter is she will tell you, if given the opportunity, it's her whole entire team. I know it's everyone at Gateway Community Industries that played a pivotal role in making this a reality. But as their leader, again, we cannot say thank you enough for all that you've done to make that a reality. Let's talk about tourism. A $450 million part of our economy and growing every single day. As we measure it, again, we use Google Analytics, we work with the Tourism Advisory Board, we have a very clear understanding of exactly how big this is getting and how big it can get. We should never lose sight of this basic number. With the walkway over the Hudson, they expected 225,000 visitors in a year. They had 1.1 million the first year. 1.1 million people coming. And by the way, it's important to understand, that allows us to be able to tap in to the 22 million people who live in the metro New York area, to tap in to the 50 million visitors who come to the New York City area and are looking for even more to be able to do. I believe we can do something special, something absolutely extraordinary. I believe we can connect the Ashokan Reservoir from the far end, building a promenade across the entire thing, open the Ashokan Reservoir up to recreation, by the way, connect it with the city of Kingston, and ultimately connect it with the walkway over the Hudson. We're talking about something so extraordinary. It is a world-class tourism destination. We will have something, and again, I've been contacted already by people who do triathlons and do a whole host of other things that are absolutely so excited about this they can't even begin to tell me about it. We're talking about 3 connections at the rail trail. We're talking about being able to do it at the 2 thruway exits in Ulster County, New Paltz and Kingston. It doesn't go to Saugerties, I'm sorry, we're connected. But in addition to that, it also allows us to be able to access, because it's a regional concept. At Metro North, you take an elevator up to the walkway, be able to do this so someone can come for a day, a weekend, a week, have the kind of tourism experience that can even enhance existing locations in the tourism business. It can have a fundamentally transformational nature to how we deal with tourism in Ulster County. We're not alone, by the way. Governor Cuomo has embraced this idea, fully understands what this can do for the entire region. $2 million in this year's budget has been dedicated to making this project a reality. And just yesterday, I stood not 100 yards from here with Senator Schumer, as he absolutely supported this project and simultaneously assured us that he would clear the barriers at the federal level to make sure that this becomes a reality. This is going to happen. Sometime between 36 and 48 months, we're going to have this, and the first leg is connecting the Ashokan Reservoir to the city of Kingston. It's going to be remarkable. And so I've talked, I've vamped, I've gone on for a while, but it still comes back to these 3 key principles: protecting property taxpayers, delivering essential services to those most in need, and making sure that we better position Ulster County to be able to compete in an ever-changing global economy. That is what we're all about. We are here to serve you. And I never lose sight that we live in the greatest nation on the face of this earth. All of us have the opportunities that we have because we live in America. When it gets to a point where you wonder, well, this is a difficult thing or this is a challenging thing, remind yourself of just how incredibly fortunate we are. For those of you who have traveled the world, you wouldn't want to live any other place on the planet, would you? It's remarkable when you come home and you realize just how amazing it is and just how few people who live here all the time understand how lucky we have it. We have opportunity day in and day out to make it better. My administration is committed to making it better. We're committed to working with organizations like the Chamber of Commerce to making it the finest place anywhere to live, work, and raise a family. We're going to do this together. Ulster County is a remarkable place, and I always say the same thing, and that is that our finest days are yet to come. Thank you very much.